Thanks for tuning in to Shootie School. In this video, we'll be learning about the Mixer tab in EZDrummer 2. If you're looking for a beginner's video, I recommend watching my Easy Guide to EZDrummer 2 video first, because here I assume you've already watched my previous videos in this advanced series, so there's no need for an introduction or specifications. Check out my channel, Shootie School, for more EZDrummer 2 tutorials. Let's get started. Mixing in EZDrummer 2 is awesome for amateur engineers, simply because all the sounds we're hearing in the software were recorded, edited, and mixed professionally already. Before we start, I should note that on the Drums tab, each individual kit piece has its own volume knob that is not linked to the channel fader on the Mixer tab. These individual volume knobs can adjust volume outside of the groups on the Mixer tab, as explained in detail in my Advanced Drums tab video on my channel. Also covered in that Advanced Drums tab video are the library presets, which is where I start today's video and give a brief recap. Staying with the EZDrummer 2 Modern Library presets so everyone can follow along, we see a list of library presets starting with Basic and ending with Original Mix. If you select one of these mixer presets, not only is there a chance your kit pieces and their properties might change, but your options on the Mixer tab will change as well. If we switch to the 80s mixer preset, we see instantly the fader positions, the panning, and the effects options change. This is the power of library presets. So I recommend finding a library preset you like first before starting to tweak your mix, because if you tweak your mix first and then change your library preset without saving, you will lose all your mixer settings, your kit pieces and their properties, as explained in detail in my Advanced Drum tab video. Let me find a MIDI file in my Search tab, which is covered in detail in my Advanced Search tab video on my channel. I'm going to go EZX Rock, and I'll go Machines 150 BPM. I'll simply hit play and it will loop. Back to the Mixer tab. Let's take a look at these channel strips, meaning the full columns with the faders in the middle. If you're watching on a smartphone or a tablet, you may not hear a lot of the details I'm talking about. And if you're not listening to this video through properly set up speaker monitors or headphones, your results may vary. I'm sure you'll get the gist though. At the top you see a pan slider to send the signal to the left or right. If you look across the top of the mixer, you'll see some tracks have two pan sliders. That's because those are stereo channels or buses. A stereo channel has the ability to send a different signal to the left and right speakers you're listening to at the same time, creating dimension or a sense of space. It's two sound sources playing at the same time through the same channel, hence why you're seeing two audio meters and two pan sliders. When you hear an acoustic sound like someone washing the dishes, your perception of direction and ambience changes that sound when you turn your head, but the sound is still performed the same. You're hearing in stereo, just like these tracks are producing stereo. These first tracks here are mono, meaning one single channel, going to both the left and right speakers at the same time. You're not hearing a separate signal in the left and right speaker, unlike stereo. You're hearing the same signal in the left and right speakers, hence a single audio meter and pan slider. Though you can control if that mono channel comes out the right or left speaker, more or entirely, by panning, but there's less or no dimension. It's more like a basic direction, left or right. I'll bail out of this rudimentary stuff right now, but I just didn't want to leave anyone behind. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes than what the Mixer tab is showing. The kick drum channel, for example, is probably a group of multiple microphones combined, as with the snare and possibly other channels. This is how I view these channels. One reason that audio engineers, not necessarily composers, tend to use Superior Drummer instead of EZDrummer 2. As you can see here, in Superior, we have 22 microphones. The kick drum has more than one mic, it has 3. There are 16 buses not yet in use and a bunch of outputs depending on your workflow and where you want to send your sounds externally. This could be a super turn off or a super turn on. Regardless, I can easily say I don't move nearly as fast in Superior, which makes EZDrummer 2 very valuable. Moving on. The solo button with the capital S is for isolating just a channel, so you can focus on just that channel's sound. The mute button next to it does the opposite by excluding that channel from the mix, though you might still hear that sound as it could be also coming through other channels of your mixer, which is called bleed. You can also solo and mute as many channels as you'd like. Try not to forget that you may have left one of these buttons unintentionally activated. And of course, the name of each channel is below, usually representing the instrument on that channel, but in some cases representing a group of instruments like toms and overheads, which has the acronym of OH, or the AMB channel represents room microphones that are further away from the drum kit to give you a quote-unquote ambient sound. There's also a comp channel, which means some of your channels are sent to a compressor, and the same thing for the reverb. At the end, the perc amp channel, meaning percussion ambient channel, is simply stereo distant room mics only for the percussion instruments. As you go through the library presets, you will see other channels that are not yet visible here. More will pop up and some will leave, such as delay, distortion, mono ambient, meaning just a single, not stereo, room microphone, and even extra kick and snare mics, so you can really tweak your kick and snare tone. Probably more options that I've even yet to mention since I do not own all the Toontrack EZX packs. Remember, the EZDrummer Master Fader can always be accessed in the lower right down here, which I rarely use as discussed in my advanced song track video. Now we know what the channel strips do, what channel is what, and where the master volume is. You can make temporary channel groups so you can move many faders together in relation to each other. Select any channel fader by clicking on anything besides one of its functions. You can see my kick channel is highlighted. Now hold Ctrl or Command on Mac and click on other channels you want in your group, or hold Shift and select multiple channels at a time. Hold Ctrl or Command and click individual channels to exclude them from your group. Lastly, to select multiple tracks, you can click and drag, like this. Now, while the selected tracks are highlighted, you can move all of these faders at the same time, or use the solo mute buttons, until you click again just about anywhere to deactivate the temporary group. Alternatively, you can use the Mixer Options menu and click on Select All Channels to make global adjustments. Keep in mind, there is no peak meter on your master fader, so you need to use your ears in case you turn it all up too loud and start distorting. And if you go too crazy tweaking your mix, like this, you can use the last option in the Mixer Options menu to reset Mixer and start from your library presets default settings. Keep in mind, resetting your mixer does not affect your output channel's numbers. So that's how groups and global adjustments work. Toontrack, please give us a proper master fader with a peak indicator. I rarely complain and don't ask for much. Master volume can be appropriately monitored when using a DAW. Adding a few more notes that I missed after the fact, a last way to select all is right-clicking on the mixer and selecting Select All Channels, a great way to adjust all channel volumes instead of using your master fader. Going to the mixer menu and selecting Audience Perspective will swap all of your channels panning as if you were listening from the audience side of the stage, not the drummers. And speaking of panning, I'm not sure if Toontrack had this in mind, but when you adjust the balance of your stereo channels towards mono or make them entirely mono, keep your ears out for an artifact called phasing, which can be generically described as frequency competition. And why not read an article on phasing if you're curious? Now, effects, which are the knobs under the faders, sectioned off to their own categories. Here, we have reverb. What is fantastic about turning an effect knob is the channels above that correspond to the effect will turn orange. It really takes out the guesswork in some cases. The knobs down here simply control the parameters of the effects. Turn up and solo the reverb channel, and turn the time knob on the reverb effect to show the workflow. Left is more dry, and right is more wet. If I wanted a tight drum sound, I might turn this knob left and even turn the reverb channel down or mute it. I might do the opposite for a more wet sound, or in this case, a washed out sound. It sounds awful, but this is just what the 80s reverb sounds like. Muted. Let's listen to the ambient mic. We might crank this for a more lively sound. We might turn it down or kill it for more aggressive chops so we can hear more definition. Now, the compressor. Compressor is used often on drums. It can really condense your bigger dynamic instruments and make them punch with control, which is usually a common goal. A side effect, or maybe a great feature, is that it also makes quiet sounds louder, like mic bleed. The compressor knob in this specific case only adjusts the ambient mic, yet as you can hear, the rest of the kit is routing through the compressor somehow behind the scenes. Feel free to research compressors to understand their role in audio post-production. I would say it's an advanced topic for non-audio engineers, which is another reason why EZDrummer 2 rocks. Things are easy. Speaking of mic bleed, this is a pretty important option which separates drum software companies from one another, and there's plenty of competition. You'll need to be hearing some cymbals playing back to know exactly what it's doing. Let me change the beat. Let's see, fills 10. Now we have a cymbal and a lot of ride to work with. Now, when I adjust the OH knob on the mic bleed effect, which means overheads, you can see the overheads channel turn orange. This might tell you to listen to that channel when making this adjustment, and it's a good general rule to use, at least for beginners, to solo that channel. In a typical drum recording session, many drums are recorded at the same time in the same room. So inevitably, which took me 6 different takes just to say that word correctly, every instrument or drum is recorded into every single microphone. This is called mic bleed or just bleed. And without a lot of post-processing, you will hear bleed to varying degrees on every single mic in the real world. It seems Toontrack has only left in usable bleed, is a way to think about it since a lot of the channels do not have it. Overhead mics are primarily for recording cymbals, but not limited to. If you wanted to remove the bleed coming from all of your drums so you can isolate the cymbals and ride, turn the OH knob down like this. I'll unsolo. Now the kit has a tighter sound. If we solo the ambient channel, we'll hear a much more roomy sound because the ambient mics are further away from the drum kit than the overheads. The bleed in this case works exactly the opposite as with the overhead bleed. Turning the A and B knob down will remove the cymbals and ride from the ambient microphones. This is very cool. It could make your mix more ambient but less washy sounding. Your ambient mic could be used as more of a natural feeling reverb effect for punchy sounds. I'll unsolo. With no bleed at all, the kit sounds tighter. Tighter doesn't mean better, it just means tighter. I'll reset the mixer. In a few seconds, here's a tight sounding drum kit. I'll reset the mixer. In a few seconds, here's a more lively and reflective sound. I'll reset again and hit stop. I'm not signing off on this stuff, just showing usability and possibly workflow for you. I'm gonna find a new beat. I'm gonna sort by number of instruments and choose something more diverse. Fills 5. To access your library presets more quickly and in order, you can use these small arrows here instead of manually selecting the preset you want. If you have weak computer specs, you may not want to have a beat playing while changing library presets. Let me see if I can find a few more effects as I quickly scroll through some library presets. Here is simply an EQ. Remember that these effects are not placed on the master fader affecting the entire kit. Remember that when you turn knobs, The channels that turn orange are the ones that are affected, in this case by the EQ. This is a great time for me to change a preference, because I don't want to make a circular motion with my mouse to turn a knob. I want to click and drag up and down to make adjustments of my knobs, like I do with faders. I'll go to the menu, Settings, General, and change my knob mode to linear. Whew, that is better, for me anyways. It's super cool to have your own distortion knob. And as I crank it, it's hard not to notice the cool delay. Time is the duration of the delay. Spread is the panning of the delay. Filter is the tone of just the delayed notes, and repeat is how many times the signal is delayed. Pinch head, I assume, is when you put pressure on a drum head to change its pitch, as we can hear. An unrealistic but similar idea for the cymbals. What is really cool is the Tighten feature that is literally adjusting the decay of the hit of the instrument. I'm inspired here. Let me save this to my desktop. I will open Pro Tools real quick and I'll start a new session and add EZDrummer 2 to an instrument track. For those of you that only use EZDrummer 2 in standalone mode, don't worry. I'm only here to show a quick trick or two. We're still covering EZDrummer 2. You gotta see over the fence just for a second, so stay with me. And for those of you who are more interested in using EZDrummer 2 in your DAW, you can check out my Using EZDrummer 2 with your DAW video after this. I'll load my EZ file I just saved into my DAW session, which is very handy for workflow. I'll click on Write Automation in my instrument channel. I'll record enable my track so it allows MIDI to pass from my hardware to EZDrummer 2. I'll right-click on the pinch heads knob in EZDrummer and assign that knob to one of my hardware controller knobs. Now I have complete control. Wink wink. I'm going to duplicate my beat many times, as discussed in my advanced recording and editing video. Control or Command click my pinch heads knob to reset the default value, and hit record. Now, disengage record. Set automation to read. Pro Tools only recorded automation while EZDrummer 2 played the files back. This is one of many ways to do things. And now, let's play back. Look at that pinch heads knob. That is so cool. If you don't have Pro Tools, just read the manual from your DAW about automating plugins or Google it. You're missing out on some serious fun here. If you want to get into hardware that can control EZDrummer 2, standalone or not, an inexpensive place to start would be the Korg Nano Control 2. I'll link to it in the description or something similar if I can't find it. There's an absolute ton of options out there that just happens to be one that I own. I'm actually using the Complete Control S61 here in my studio. Continuing on. Here's a reverb that has more parameters, and a compressor that controls different channels than from earlier. I want you to acknowledge that these things, like the compressor knob, work differently depending on which library preset you use. You have to turn the knob or use your ears to find out for yourself. They are not all the same, even though the modules look similar. Here we have a tape module and a phaser. Analog tape is supposed to have its own characteristics, such as warmth, and a phaser only affects the overheads here. Don't do drugs, kids. The feedback knob on this delay is just another name for how many times you hear a signal delayed. Next. Decay is generically how long the duration of the snare sound is. We could do this for a while here. I just wanted any beginners to get an idea of what's under the hood and to give them a workflow on how to demo the effects and explain some basic definitions. Lastly, on the original mix library preset, we have mic bleed again, but with more parameters. That's really cool. If I was only working with EZDrummer 2 in standalone mode and not in a DAW, I would be grateful that this much stuff is here. I'll hit stop. One thing I will cover in using EZDrummer 2 with your DAW video is routing all the channels out, which I'll give a quick look at since it's completely mixer related. Here, you can see that every channel in Pro Tools represents every channel in EZDrummer. Notice that all the routing assignment numbers in the mixer tab have changed, so my DAW understands how to isolate these tracks. Now you've just added 100% of your DAW's capability to EZDrummer 2. Again, look for my using EZDrummer 2 with your DAW video. Let me open up EZDrummer in standalone mode and wrap this up. After you've decided what library preset works best for you, after you've tweaked that preset to make the sound you want for your project, you can now save your library preset so you can recall it at a later date or even send it to a partner in crime so they can use it as well. Just click on the library preset orange box and scroll to the bottom to user presets. Click on Save As and name your file. My preset came from the basic preset, so I may reference that so I have an idea of what I'm getting into before I click on it in the future. Now, if we change our library preset, you'll see that all of our work has been changed. But have no fear, just navigate back to the user presets area, mouse over User Presets, and click on the user preset you'd like to use. And bam, we're back to where we were, because we saved. EZDrummer 2 does not autosave any of your work. I recommend backing up your work in steps, like this. Especially since there's no undo redo function on the mixer tab. If I have my user preset loaded and I make an adjustment to my preset, an asterisk will appear hinting to me that my work has yet to be saved. Going back to the user presets area. If you don't see the user preset you're looking for, click Rescan User Presets before deciding you have a problem. If you simply click Save, you will overwrite your current user preset, so be careful. Using the Save As command should be a common workflow with important projects. Mouse over the user presets. Then User Preset again will confirm which one is selected by the check mark. This is also a good place to look before you hit delete, which will delete that user preset forever. It will not be in your computer's trash bin. It will be terminated forever. The last option, Preset Sets Routing. If you click this, it will stay enabled. Even if you close EZDrummer 2 without saving, it will still be enabled. This button has nothing to do with the stock EZDrummer 2 library presets, only your user presets. If you have changed your routing and then saved your own user preset and want to recall that routing in the future, check this option before opening your user preset. If you want your routing to be at the default, which is 1 or stereo, keep this box unchecked. I kinda had a brain fart with this option, which I don't feel like eating your time over explaining it to you. But if you're having any issues with this option not working the way you think it should, close and reopen EZDrummer 2 for a fresh slate before trying again. Now lastly, if you want to see where your library presets are stored, and even access them to back them up or share with your friends, go back to the user presets and click on Manage in Explorer or Finder. Here's my basic preset that I can access and do what I want with it. If you rename this source file, it will not be renamed in EZDrummer 2. So get your names right at the source in the Save As dialog and don't bother renaming your files on the computer. Also, it seems you only have a 24 character limit in library preset names. So that's it. If you learned anything new about mixing with EZDrummer 2 after viewing this video, please like and subscribe. Your comments and corrections are always welcome below. If you're feeling burnt out, take a break and come back and learn more EZDrummer 2 with a clear head. Or if you're still ready to burn some more brain calories, come check out my next advanced EZDrummer 2 tutorial. I have more EZDrummer 2 videos on my channel. Thanks for stopping by and rock on.